Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to a whole new episode of the Rob Dog Sport Brief. Well, I have not been as consistent as one would like me to be, that one being me, along with the viewers. One's gotta understand, the man here is working, I am working two jobs, a full-time college student, still practicing as if I am as if I'm playing baseball year round, not just in the summer, along with a hodgepodge of a million other things, and every time I try to sit down and put together content for a show, the sports world says, nope, take that scripted outline you have, crumble into a ball, and hook shot it somewhere else because we're going to give you something else. With that being said, I'm back. I don't know what I'm doing at times because I gotta figure out where I am, what I'm gonna do, and we all have those times where when you sit down, relax, just turn on your TV, you're like, yeah, I should do an episode, but I finally have a few minutes to myself. So that is why the Rob Dog Sport Brief hasn't been there. I also haven't hammered out any content on TikTok in a while because I didn't know if it was going to be around or not, which I think it's looking like it will be, so I will start using that page more often again. However, with that being said, we're going to start with covering Major League Baseball and the World Series. Yes, I can see a lot of you now going, oh, he's talking baseball again. What's with this guy in baseball? Well, for starters, it's my favorite sport. Secondly, if you look behind me, I play it. Go 35ers. However, with that being said, this year's the American League side was a lot more entertaining in the postseason than the National League. Like, the American League side gave us a lot of good games. A 15-inning thriller between the Mariners and Tigers. The instant classic of a series, right? The first game right out of the gates in the wild card round between the Red Sox and the Yankees, where you would have thought the winner went to the World Series with how high that hype level was. And not to mention, the Blue Jays topped the Mariners in what will be arguably an instant classic from Game 7 of the ALCS, where George Springer hit what was ultimately the game-winning home run for Toronto to send them to the World Series. I'm glad I got to watch that game. Or at least most of it, because I did work. I was also at work too, but I'm glad that that's a game I got to see. Because that one was great. It was just everything you could have wanted in the world of baseball was there. While the haters will be like, oh, no, it's boring. It was so boring, I can't do anything, I can't stay glued. Okay, take your TikTok brain and move it over there. While you have your little TikTok brain in the corner over here, the rest of us sports fans are going to be like, this is awesome! Glued to our TVs. One of the things that I kind of forgot about this until it was mentioned to me, the Blue Jays starter, which is going to be their Game 1 starter in the World Series, is Trey Savage. The Brewers could have had Trey Savage. Like, they really could have. When was Savage drafted? because I could see somebody asking this right now when this comes up on the YouTube feed, watching it, whether you're watching this on the YouTube feed or listening on the sports page of YouTube or listening on Spotify. He was the 20th overall pick in the first round of 2024. So if we look at the 2024 MLB draft in that first round, let's see who our beloved Milwaukee Brewers decided they were going to take instead of a guy who was the surefire thing and now is playing in a World Series. Well, yes, guys, I will get to the NLCS side of things eventually and where all that sits. Give it time, because right now I'm looking at Trey Savage for the Blue Jays. And we will also get the ALCS box score recap too, just because I watched it but doesn't remember as much. I just remember Trey Savage started that game and Toronto won 4-3. If we look here, make sure that's muted because I don't need the MLB video thing going. Yeah, Cleveland had the first overall pick in 2024 and took Travis Bazzana, the second baseman at Oregon State. Let's see. Oh, the fourth overall pick, the A's took Nick Kurtz. If you don't know that name, you're going to very, very soon. Like very soon, you will know the name Nick Kurtz if you don't already. Let's see, where did the Brewers pick in this year's in 2024 draft? The Cubs at 14th took Cam Smith, a third baseman out of Florida State. I don't know where he is in their farm system. I don't know what the... Oh God. With the 17th overall pick, the Brewers took Braylon Payne, the outfielder out of Lawrence E. Elkins High School in Texas. Let's see where he even is. Well, yes, we're going down the rabbit hole here. Like just a tad bit. However, my bad for that. However, if we look at it, so I'm sure Baseball Reference will give me this answer of where he even is. I don't even know if he's a top prospect for the Brewers at the moment. But they could have had a surefire guy who's in the show already and pitching in a World Series. But instead, we took the outfielder Braylon Payne, who is still sitting in Single A. Yeah. He's sitting with the Carolina Mudcats after 2 years. And he went from center field to DHing. Alright. Yeah, they took him at 17 years old, but he's still in the he spent 2 years in the Carolina League here at low A, because the T-Rats, they're the high A affiliate, so he's sitting in low A still. Well, the Brewers could have had a guy that could have helped solidify their pitching woes, especially as we saw later and later into the postseason, when it was batten down the hatches, all hands on deck situation, because we didn't have any pitching really. However, now we're getting back to the ALCS Game 7 here. If we look at this box score, it was something else. This game was a game of beauty. Cal Raleigh and he did hit, and Julio Rodriguez, they both hit home runs. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it didn't matter. George Kirby went 4 innings with 4 hits, one earned run, one walk, 3 Ks. Brian Woe went 2 1/3 with 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 2 Ks. And I'm sure as you can see there, after a while, the Mariners kind of just fell off. Toronto, that's right. So you Savage started Game 6, not Game 7. My bad. That's why he's going to be starting Game 1. But Shane Bieber went 3 2/3. Luis Varland went in 1/3. But later in the game, this is how you knew they wanted it. Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett, they went to their starters because they wanted to go to the series. Now that we got to this point, we're talking about it. I will say this. While we're all sitting here mad with the Dodgers, making fun of the Dodgers, we all do it. We all hate the LA Dodgers with what they did. And rightfully so, because they spent $1.62 billion, somehow got away with deferring it all. And, well, if we look at the Toronto Blue Jays payroll this year, they're the 5th highest payroll in baseball. They're not much better when it comes to that aspect. All this year did was show us that in the world of baseball, with how things are set up, they built payroll and money conquers everything. The saying "money conquers all" is true because the Blue Jays are the 5th highest payroll in baseball. The Mariners were the 17th in payroll this year. They won all 7. The Brewers, our beloved Milwaukee Brewers, were 22nd in payroll. And they went down even with this magical year, went down without a whimper because of the fact that it was 120 million or 132 million, somewhere in that range. I think the exact number I saw was 122 million. So 122 million versus $1.62 billion, and the Dodgers went out there and bought up all the superstars and built a super team to where they did what we watched the Warriors do, and we see these basketball teams doing in the NBA every year, and building super teams where you gotta do just enough to get into the postseason and then just dominate everybody because you have all the stars and talent in the world. It got to the point where after the Dodgers punched their ticket to the NLCS, the NLCS, everyone was making fun of it and going, Milwaukee's our last line of defense. Which, tragically, that line of defense faltered, and it faltered badly. However, baseball fans, we took to Twitter. Blake Harris on Twitter put the payroll of every World Series champion since 2010. 2010, 10th. 2011, 9th. 2012, 7th. 2013, 3rd. 2014, 7th. 2015, 13th. 2016, 5th. 2017, 17th, which is an outlier here because that Astros team, all those stars were on rookie deals. Someone grab me a trash can and I'll bang on that all day too. 2018, highest payroll in baseball. That was between the Dodgers and Red Sox, who were 1 and 2. 2019, the 7th. 2020, the highest payroll in baseball again, though that was a really strange year. 2021, the 10th highest payroll. 2022, 8th. 2023, 4th. 2024, 3rd. 2025, either the highest or fifth highest. And he answered with, but I was told the team that spends the most money wins every year. You just showed with this tweet there, you proved baseball fans' arguments. You proved the other side of the argument because the payrolls that lose were significantly lower. Like, they were significantly lower. Cody Duncan on this tweet put, I can't wait for the MLB lockout and see New York and LA fans in shambles. Bring on the salary cap and floor. Can't wait. Another fan here put, lockout baseball in 2027 and give us a salary cap like the NFL, MLB. I don't know why they put the MLB because we don't have one. NHL. Only big market fans have a problem with it because they do know their teams won't have the same success. That right there is true. In the NFL, well, yeah, we had dynasties with the Patriots, and unfortunately we went right back to that with the Chiefs and Mahomes, but it's because in the NFL you have to draft well and be smart with it. You can't just spend, or you're going to be in trouble. Another one put, well, MLB is going to lock out in 27. Thanks, Manfred. And yeah, he's right. This one put, the Dodgers are single-handedly going to cause the lockout in 2027. This deferred money is buying everyone whilst dodging the luxury tax and be the end of baseball. See, I don't think baseball's coming to an end. However, this deferred money thing is what's hurting things. Because you're not having to pay the fine or whatever it is they have for going over that certain amount of money. And you can just keep going. I cannot wait for when we're further down the road and the Dodgers are gone basically where they exist, but they have no money to spend because they're having to pay all these guys who are sitting in their retirement homes somewhere. And Shohei Ohtani's probably being a degenerate gambler, just going on his phone like, let's see, because my $700 million from the Dodgers is coming through for the next however many years, I'm going to bet, let's put $5,000 down on this team here, let's put another $1,000 here, and here's this much in hush money for the next person that I pin the blame on. That's going on there. The same Blake Harris person who's saying we should be upset at our owners of our favorite teams, well, yes, I will give him that. As a Brewer fan, I absolutely hate Mark Antanasio being old alligator arms here. We will get to that eventually. But he tweets on here, your team could have signed Blake Snell after he won a Cy Young. Signed Freddie Freeman when Atlanta didn't want him. Traded for Tommy Edman when he was injured. Signed Teoscar Hernandez to a short deal. Picked up Max Muncy when he was released. Be upset at your owner. You see, well, yeah, some of these things are true, and I hate the fact that my team doesn't do that. But Milwaukee doesn't have the same financial firepower as the Dodgers. The contract that they gave Shohei Ohtani is the entire net worth of Mark Antanasio of $700 million. Shohei Ohtani got handed a contract that's worth as much as the Brewers owner. Do the math. Another one put on here. MLB desperately needs a salary cap. 2027 MLB lockout can't come soon enough. And one of the best Brewer fan follows on Twitter that I found, and Tony from Texas. I don't think he's going to see this, but if he does, congratulations. Your tweet has won Best Baseball Fan Tweet of the show. Baseball will have a labor lockout in a year if the Brewers or Mariners don't pull this out. Neither one pulled it out, which means we're solidifying there will be no baseball, or at least no professional baseball in the MLB ranks in 2027. Baseball fans are all preparing for it because of how Shohei Ohtani and all them. Well, yeah, it's great for the Japan market, I guess, but it sucks. Baseball, they're gaining momentum. They're getting more and more eyeballs turning to them. Like, more and more eyeballs are finally turning to the game of baseball. And they're going to just absolutely vomit all over themselves again. Like they do all the time. Like, it's not even going to be funny. It's going to be depressing. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be as bad as the strike in 94 was. Like, it's genuinely going to be as bad as the 94 strike. Where the fans aren't going to be happy. They could try and bring in replacement player scrubs that aren't on 40-man rosters, but when the actual guys come back, that's not going to be well either, because these minor leaguers, how's that going to work when you send them back down? You're already going to have that divided locker room. The fans, we might go, we might not. I find it hard to believe that we'd all just completely give up the game. It'd have to be a scenario like the movie The Replacements, even though that's football, where it's obvious the players said, we don't care about you, we only care about money. It'd have to be one of those situations. However, I don't want to think about that. I'll cross that bridge when it gets closer. We just know that the 2027 lockout, it's going to be looming. Like, it's coming. As much as I hate to say it, baseball fans, the lockout's coming. Batten down the hatches. It's on its way, and it's not, and I mean this, not going to be pretty. However, we are going to look at now, in the world of Major League Baseball, we're going to come back to our roots here in Wisconsin and looking at our Milwaukee Brewers. Because now the question is, we got to the NLCS. Well, we were swept in 4 games. And that ending was it was about as depressing as the movie Old Yeller at the end, where it's like, don't shoot the dog. Oh, they shot the dog. That was pretty much the ending of the season. However, now the question is, what do they do with Freddie Peralta and William Contreras? And my God, if the Brewers, and I mean this, if they don't keep them around, Atanasio's doing his part in solidifying why we will have a lockout in 2027, because, well, yes, $8 million on his last year of control. Even if you know you're not going to be able to afford to keep him, at least do with him what you did with Adamas, where you ride it out to his very until that very final out. You don't trade him away. You trade Peralta away. Well, yeah, it's just his last year of his deal. You better get something. And I mean, you better get something good. Because you're gonna ruin, because it's, and on this one, I'm going to play to sum up what they're gonna essentially trying to do. I'm just gonna let the Dodgers manager and Dave Roberts do the talking for me on this one. Like, I'm just going to let the Dodgers, here, like, pull up the clip. We're gonna let Dave Roberts do the talking for us on exactly what it is Antanasio would be doing his part for.
I'll tell you, before this season started, they said the Dodgers are ruining baseball. Let's get 4 more wins and really ruin baseball. Let's go!
Also, yes, that is a real quote that was not AI edited. So, yeah. Well, you may be asking why I used that, why I was using the Dodgers skipper there instead of talking about the Dodgers in the World Series and the lockout. If you think of it, that clip fits in perfectly for describing what owners like Fisher for the A's, Nutting for the Pirates, Antanasio for the Brewers are doing, whoever owns the Marlins are doing to the game of baseball as well, because the owners like that are also really bad for the game of baseball. And what really concerns me is I already know Peralta's not going to be a Brewer after 2026, because he'll be a free agent. And if he's gone after this season, that's going to be even worse, because it means they gave up. And just said, yep, Antanasio's admitting to pocketing all his money and not caring anymore. And William Contreras, this is the one, Brewer fans, where if this article's not just, if it's not just like off-season hot stove talk, but actually holds true on why they shouldn't and probably won't pick up his $12 million option. One, Milwaukee will be really stupid if they do not pick up that option. Absolutely stupid. It'd be the dumbest thing they could do. Two, that would also again show Antanasio cares more about his damn soccer team in England than he does the Brewers. From what I've heard, with as little as he's doing to try and improve the team and spend, it's getting as bad as it was towards the end of when C-League owned it, especially in the 90s and all that one. He was not doing anything. He did not spend any money. He did not care. It's getting just as bad as that. It's getting right up there at that once again. So I'll say it, the Brewers better, at the very least, pick up that club option because it buys them time to negotiate and keep him one of the best backstops in baseball. But they've already been piddle-dinking around with his arbitration and all that the same way they did Corbin Burns and a couple of these other players. And if history repeats itself, instead of picking up these options and all that, they're just going to ship them off and try and capitalize and hope these prospects keep hitting, which is going to be bad. Because eventually wrong sport, not playing rugby or talking rugby, we're talking baseball. But the luck is going to run out, the prospects aren't going to keep hitting, and eventually this tactic is going to fail. Just pay Contreras his $12 million option, keep him around, keep Peralta around for this year, and just let him walk in free agency if you don't want to afford him, or pay him more accurately. But now, when it comes to the Brewers, looking at this team and how they built it, and they built up their team the old-fashioned way, not just making it rain, making it rain, making it rain. The way the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Yankees, the Mets, though that collapse was hilarious. And, I guess the Giants technically made it rain a bit too. But these teams, you see a trend. It's always New York, LA, Philadelphia, Boston. They're always making it rain, spending all this money. And teams like Milwaukee draft, scout, develop, and do it the old-fashioned way. And now we have ourselves a team. Like, we have a team. And I'll say that. Where are the holes? Anybody listening, whether it's the comment section on Spotify or the comment section on YouTube when this show is posted, please tell me, where are the holes? Where are the holes on this roster? And if you tell me first base, or third base, we don't have this big, towering power hitter because you believe the stereotypes that your corner infield is supposed to be these big, towering power guys, you're wrong. If you believe that Vaughn's supposed to be a powering, mashing, left-handed hitter, you're wrong. Your first baseman doesn't need to be a big, towering lefty. Your third baseman doesn't need to be this big, towering power guy. A guy like Caleb Durbin is perfect for third base. Offensively, yeah, Joey Ortiz is a hole on the roster, but your shortstop's usually more known for his defensive glove work than he is your offensive power. Like Adames hitting the way he was is an anomaly. You don't normally get shortstops that hit like that and have those kind of power numbers. People are saying, well, ideally the Brewers could bring in Bo Bichette. One, if the Blue Jays let him leave, the Brewers are not going to get their hands on him. Someone else is going to overpay him. Two, he's probably staying in Toronto after this season. They're going to try and keep this team together. The only one of those three youngs at the times that didn't work out was Biggio. Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., they panned out. Gavin Biggio, not so much. I don't even know where he is anymore. But the Brewers, we don't have any holes. I guess maybe a hole. Just let Jansen go and bring up Carrillo. He cannot do any worse than Jansen did. I do not know why, and I mean this in all caps, why he was, why the Brewers made that move. Danny Jansen, that was I don't get it. Haas was just fine as their backup catcher. So I won't be surprised if Jefferson Carrillo gets the call to be their backup catcher next year behind Contreras. God help us if he's their starting catcher. However, there really are no holes on this roster. You'll probably try and find some and argue why that is. And that's what I love about this. We can sit here. We can debate this. And I will gladly debate with you on these topics with these numbers and all that on where the holes are, where they're not at, and get back to you for it. I'll even sit here and debate with people why baseball's not dead and not dying, even if it is facing some hardships. Now, with that being said, and we're 35 minutes into this thing already, believe it or not, we're finally going to transition to football and that piece of pigskin. I'm just working my way down the list. I know there was a really big thing that happened with the NBA, but I'm working my way down, guys. Like, I am working my way down the list. Right now, baseball's the top of the priorities because of the World Series championship. Then the NFL, because it's the NFL. College football. NBA is down here. And then off the screens, the local sports, where I cover them when there's some changes and stuff that's like noteworthy on my radar. But now, with that being said, in the NFL, apparently the Bengals, one of their linebackers wants out of Cincy. I didn't really look too far into that, just because look at how bad things have been for the Bengals. I can see why they want out of that situation. Zach Taylor is doing a really good job at coaching himself out of a job, because it's showing that team was all Joe Burrow and not him. Kind of like how after Tom Brady left the Patriots, everyone thought it was Bill Belichick carrying Brady, but Brady carried Belichick, and that's even showing at the college level now that Belichick's not as good as we thought. Just ask the old generation of Brown fans how he did as their coach. People kind of forget about that. But the NFL trade deadline's apparently coming up. And I'm trying to figure out who would be buyers and who would be sellers. Which, the NFL trade deadline's usually fairly bland and boring compared to the MLB, even NBA and all that. Like, baseball's trade deadlines fun, 'cause you actually do see stars and all that on the move. With blockbuster deals, and then there's just a lot of action going on. The NBA trade deadline's interesting, just to see like how many years of draft picks get moved around like nothing. But we'll see who's buyers, who's sellers, like which teams should buy, which teams should sell, and so forth. This buy or sell stuff on it. We'll start with the AFC, because I'm guessing because it looks like that's what they're doing. This article I'm looking at is doing, and I'll tell you if I agree or disagree with who should buy, who should sell. I can agree with them. CBS Sports saying that the Bills should be buyers. Absolutely 100%. Your window is now. Your Super Bowl window is wide open right now. The beast that was the Kansas City Chiefs at the moment is not looking like a Super Bowl caliber team. God help us if they do the classic NBA trick and even the Dodgers trick where they do just enough to get into the playoffs and then turn it on. Right now, if you want to make the Super Bowl, make a few moves, Buffalo. Josh Allen's good, but he can't carry you that much. And this one saying they should trade for like wideouts or something anymore. Maybe like Chris Olave, which that would be doing him a favor, getting him the hell out of New Orleans. Believe it or not, they have the Patriots listed as buyers because they do need some upgrades. And the New England Patriots, believe it or not, folks, they're sitting at 5-2. They're a playoff team again. The Patriots have finally come back. Well, I guess we can't really say finally, but yeah. They're back. Drake May right now is somehow surprisingly playing at an MVP caliber quarterback type level. They also have the Steelers listed, which I don't know what they're going to do besides just using some weird voodoo magic stuff to end up doing just enough to have a winning season, make the playoffs, maybe win a wild card game, and then lose to a team like Buffalo or something in the divisional round. The Indianapolis Colts. Ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, the Indianapolis Colts are sitting at 6-1 with Daniel Jones, of all quarterbacks, under center. Maybe the Giants were the problem for that guy. But the question is, what do they need? I won't be surprised if they do make like a splash or something, or trying to get... They're going to go for something in the trenches. I don't know if they'll go for Trey Hendrickson, but the Bengals, just take whatever you can get at this point, guys. Your season's over. It has Jacksonville and Houston as buyers, which Jacksonville can get it. Houston, they're 2-4. Why would they be buying? I don't get it. Of the buyers they've had listed so far, I'd say Houston's probably going to be the one that stays put. Denver, I wouldn't be surprised if they stand pat, but I also won't be surprised if they go try and get like a wide receiver or something. The Chargers, yeah. The Chiefs, what is there for them to go out and get? What is there for the Chiefs and Eagles to do besides probably some like under the radar depth pieces, hoping that they can bolster like their depth in the defensive line on the trenches there. But yeah, the Cowboys, yeah, I can see it, but they'll need a lot of help. But Jerry Jones is... I don't see Jerry Jones doing anything that would seem intelligent. The fact that he went out and got George Pickens is impressive, but he's also the same guy who traded away Micah Parsons. Even if you weren't going to re-sign him, keeping Parsons this season, if they would have kept Micah Parsons, they might actually have a bit of a defensive threat and might actually be in the thick of a playoff race. This one surprises me. The Bears. Somehow we're in the playoff mix. We're the only team that scored at least 21 points in every game this season. We're going to ignore that Detroit game and that Minnesota choke job. But defensively, they haven't been able to put pressure on the quarterback as much as we'd like defensively. So I could see them adding like a defensive edge or interior D-line. They'll probably do something, but the problem is with Chicago, they don't have much money to work with anymore. But it should be interesting. I cannot wait. I have a little bit of hope, which might be what is my downfall. They also have Tampa Bay and San Francisco. Seattle, they are in the playoff mix. I did not think that Sam Darnold and a couple of these other guys that they did would be getting them where they are, yet here they are. The sellers. Teams that are the teams they have listed that should sell. And I can see it. Obviously the Jets. I'm not even going to bother. I know they're going to be on that list. The Packers, I just see them staying put. They're not going to do anything. They usually never do. Or they might trade away one or two pieces. The Dolphins, yep. The Browns, yep. The Titans, yep. The Raiders, yep. The Saints, yeah. So their list of teams that are going to sell, or at least should sell, don't surprise anybody. Because they're all the bottom feeders. The Raiders might as well just see what you can get for guys like Max Crosby, Jacoby Myers. Geno Smith was a really bad trade. Pete Carroll, I don't know why he came back to be with the Raiders. The Saints, well, they're the Aints again. The holders are teams that are going to stay put. Like, teams they think will stay put during the trade deadline. I'll see. Cincinnati. I can see them staying put, but I can also see them just trading away stuff. It says they made their splash by trading for Joe Flacco, which I wouldn't call that much of a splash, as much as just an act of desperation. Quite literally heaving the Hail Mary desperation. But they also say the Ravens, the Commanders, the Giants will stay put. They think the Lions, Packers, and Vikings, so basically everyone in the NFC North besides the Bears, will stay put. I can see Detroit look maybe, depending on the price of secondary help, going for some secondary help. Green Bay, they have the arsenal of draft picks, but are they willing to move them? That answer is going to be no. The Panthers, the Falcons, the Rams, the Cardinals also all stay put, which doesn't surprise me any. Not many teams on that list surprise me for where they have them. The Lions are going to be borderline buy or sell either way. Well, they're not going to sell. They're borderline buy and stay put. The Packers, I'm going to have them staying put because they never trade any of their picks. I am surprised they actually parted ways with their first rounders for once in my life. But yeah. With that being said, transitioning over to the Packers, which worked perfectly, Aaron Rodgers wants to retire a Packer. I don't think Aaron realizes that he done messed up. The Packer fans want nothing to do with him. They're not going to cheer him when he comes back. He can sign one day and retire Packer. Well, fans will still wear their jerseys, but I won't be surprised if it's the "we're booing you when you have your big retirement ceremony here at Lambeau. Sorry, the Bear fan side of me came out by default. But now, with that being said, comes another topic of discussion here. Are the Packers as good as advertised? Going into this season, the Packers were hyped up as one of the best teams, Super Bowl caliber teams, supposedly with one of the best defenses, everything where Jordan Love and the offense has to do just enough to keep them alive. Well, that didn't age well. Yes, they're the 1 seed in the NFC at 4-1-1, but you lost to the Cleveland Browns when Micah Parsons just disappeared and Jordan Love and the offense faltered completely. The following week, you tied to the Cowboys, where Parsons again, along with the rest of your defense, disappeared. You let them put a 40-burger on you. You also weren't able to win when you put up a 40-burger. And after your bye week, you came out where if the Cardinals weren't the ultimate choke artist and were able to hold on to a lead, you don't win that game. It should have never came down to a going for it on fourth down instead of kicking the game-tying field goal. It should have never came down to that. The Packers were supposed to be a Super Bowl team, and they're showing the world why they're not. Playoff, yes. Super Bowl, no. I'll eat if the Packers end up being a Super Bowl caliber team and we're sitting here watching them in an NFC title game, I'll eat that crow. Because it means I was wrong. And it'll give me plenty of good content for my show. However, this Packers team is a roller coaster when it shouldn't be. It's too inconsistent. Their secondary is non-existent anymore, which wasn't existent in the years past either. However, it shouldn't be as bad as it is. Their offense is doing just barely enough to skate by. Jordan Love has been probably fairly inconsistent, yet consistent. He's consistently inconsistent, if that makes sense. And the only, constant you have on your offense right now is Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft. Well, yeah, a lot of you guys are saying, oh, Matthew Golden. Guys, well, yeah, it was a good pick. And Packer fans are going to probably crucify me for saying this. On draft night, if you look back, did the Packers truly need a wide receiver? Did you truly need that wideout? Or should you have taken the secondary help? If we look back at it, if that draft wasn't in Green Bay, if it was in Detroit, Minnesota, San Francisco, New York, LA, Vegas, just about any other city in the NFL besides Green Bay, would the Packers have drafted a wide receiver night one, or would they have gone with defensive secondary help, which was needed? When two of your first three picks in the draft are on wide receivers you don't need, and I don't even think their third round pick has played, which is classic for the Packers. I don't know if they are as good as advertised right now. I won't be surprised if a month from now they are living up to it. I also won't be surprised if a month from now they're still struggling, because this team doesn't have an identity. They really don't know who they are. The Bears, Ben Johnson drilled in who they are. The Lions, they know who they are. Dan Campbell instilled that in them. The Vikings, good luck with that shit show. Good luck, Kevin O'Connell. But now, with that being said, and teams that are struggling, good Lord, what happened to Badgers football? This has been bad. They beat They haven't won a game against a power conference team, and their two wins came against came against an FCS school and a team in Middle Tennessee, which I think plays in the Sun Belt Conference, or one of those smaller ones down there. And for the first time in my life, in back-to-back weeks, they were shut out, and it wasn't close. 37-0, 34-0, something like that. Anyways, the Badgers. While fans want Fickle fired, McIntosh fired, and all that, okay, I get it. It's bad. However, I will say this. Everyone saying, Phil Longo, save us, Phil Longo. If the answer to your question is who is a terrible pick for offensive coordinator, then yes. If he wasn't a very good offensive coordinator, what makes you think he's going to be a good head coach? And if your answer is it would have respected Barry Alvarez's legacy, his legacy's written in stone. Alvarez's legacy has been written in stone. We don't need to worry about his legacy no more. Alvarez, that's 30 years ago. It's like 30 to 35 years in the past. We don't need that no more. Get this through your thick Badger skulls. We don't need him anymore. Get him out of the picture completely. Just stop thinking, what would Alvarez have done? What would Alvarez do? I don't know. What would Alvarez do? Let's call Barry and see what he says. No. Stop. Stop with the calling Alvarez thing. Stop with the we want to honor his legacy. His legacy's written in stone. Every Badger fan forever will now know who he is. We will forever know who he is. We don't need this. It's 2025. Stop acting like how he ran it in 1990's the answer. We're acting like 1990 is the answer. Even Alvarez himself has admitted it. That the way they're doing it, you got a good coach. You guys are just spoiled because you've gotten used to winning every single year. His model was efficient in the pre-NIL era. But when you guys decided not to adapt with NIL and the adaptation of the pass game and more teams running air raid offenses, the NFL running air raid offenses, and colleges running NFL caliber offenses, and you guys want to run it as if it's 1990 still. Good God, move on. This is why the Badgers will never win, ever, as long as we're going Barry, like that. We will never win. Never. Stop worshiping Alvarez. McIntosh, grow a set of balls. Say Alvarez's time is gone. It's ours. We're rewriting our legacy, not his. Grow a set of balls. Come out. Tell the Badger fans Alvarez is gone. We're not doing it his way anymore. His legacy is set in stone. It's my turn. But no. We gotta operate as if it's still Barry Alvarez running the show. That's why the Badgers will never win. And if you look at the NIL money thing, there's only like maybe 2 teams in the Big Ten who spend less than they do in NIL. So where the Badgers, if they chose to die, you know the old saying, adapt or die. They chose to die because they still think it's just like Barry Alvarez running it in 1990 through 1995 or something like that. It's where 35 years ago is the solution still. And until they figure this out and adapt with the times, they will never win again. So Badger fans, as long as we're worshiping Alvarez and going, Barry. The same way Bear fans from the 80s are always like, Ditka. Unfortunately, I'm like that with that team. I don't worship Ditka because I wasn't alive for it. I just know he's the coach that won a Super Bowl. But my dad does the same thing with Ditka. Badger fans, can we stop praising Alvarez like he is Jesus Christ himself and admit his legacy set in stone? We don't need to do this anymore. And maybe, just maybe, if we choose to adapt to the modern times, we'll actually win football games again and be in a bowl game again. But until that happens, the Badgers will never be good. And they're going to consistently be a bottom feeder the way they were in the 70s and 80s from what I heard. But until that moment comes, you guys better be used to watching a team that's not winning. And at this point, can we bring back Badger baseball? It physically cannot be any worse. Also, it'd be nice if McIntosh grew a set of balls and said, I'm bringing back baseball. But now, on a less frustrating note in the world of college football, we're going to take a dive down to the Division III level for a few minutes here. And then if you made it this far watching that, oh sweet, air raid! It's that air raid offense! Hear that, Badger fans? That is what we're supposed to do for an offense in 2025. Air raid. Not Alvarez's run, pass, punt, run, punt, run, pass, punt, run, punt, run, punt, run, turnover, run downs. But anyways, the WIAC, I don't know why some people call it the WIAC or the WIAC. I'm just going to say WIAC, has not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 teams ranked in the top 25. 6 teams are ranked in the top 25 for college football within the WIAC. So, with that on it, which teams are ranked and where are they ranked? And it's going to be great when we see this. Because when we look at it, oh yes, as I scroll through, found the post of me absolutely roasting Ben Verlander, where it's obvious he's only in the sports media, especially baseball, because of his last name. He definitely didn't earn that job. He got it because of who his brother is. But anyways, from D3 Data, his Twitter feed, the Week 7 D3 Football.com Top 25, which in Division 3 football, that is, they are the ones who do their rankings the way the College Football Playoff Committee does for Division 1 FBS. You have Platteville at 8, Whitewater at 9, River Falls at 10, La Crosse at 12. Yeah, they fell from 4 to 12 because losing, if it would have been like a last-second field goal loss the way they beat Whitewater, Platteville would have still made that big jump, but instead of going from like 4 to 12, it probably would have been like 4 to 9 or something like that. It wouldn't have been as big a drop, but when Platteville just came out of the gates and just went, okay, La Crosse, I have the belt, and it's going to your ass, and gave them belt to ass, that's what's going to happen. But then, after he keeps scrolling, you're sitting there going, wait. Rob, you already have 1, 2, 3, 4 teams. At number 18 is Oshkosh, and number 24 is Stout. I don't know if it's because they were in doubt or what, but 6 teams from the same conference, all ranked in the top 25. And with the Division III college football playoff, when it's a 40-team postseason, I'm pretty sure the top 25 is guaranteed a spot in the postseason because there's 40 teams who make it. So if you're in the top 25, you're probably going to have your ticket punched. But 6 teams are in the top 25. You find me another conference where they all are beating the living crap out of each other. In every single one of them, you still have a few of them who aren't. But 6 teams out of a 8 or 9 team league are ranked. There's a reason why people say the WIAC is the equivalent of the SEC in Division III football. because in the state of Wisconsin, we run D3 football basically. The Midwest has been running college football lately, and I hope that doesn't change. However, I don't know where it's going to go. I just know that tomorrow lacrosse has a home game in lacrosse, and I'm going to be working during it, which there's nothing new there. And it's going to be a fun watch the rest of the season. I genuinely am going to enjoy watching these the rest of the season as we go on. But now that we're getting to it, I finally got to this portion of the list. The NBA. Their season's just started up. It started with a game with 2 games on NBC, which the first game between Houston and Oklahoma City I thought was never going to end. Because it ended with it went into double overtime, and if Kevin Durant didn't make a really stupid foul, probably would have had a third overtime. Also, apparently OKC is double overtime merchants so far this year because both their games went to double OT. However, one of the coaches and a couple of players were arrested over illegal gambling. The NBA coach Chauncey Billups was charged with a gambling operation that exposed mafia links, and one of the and then there's a player, Terry Rozier, was also arrested. I don't know how the NBA is going to go about this. I don't know how the players are reacting to this, but this just shows how far how far we've gone and how fast sports gambling has risen into our everyday society for no apparent reason. Like, Rozier, one of the things they accused him of was when he went in for 9 minutes and then went down hurt, leaving the game, they were saying it's because he had a bet on it. Historically, this kind of stuff's happened before. Just look at the 1919 White Sox in baseball. But this shows us how the sudden rise in sports gambling has taken over everything. And I'm just laughing. I'm pretty sure this was just a meme, but there was something making fun of saying Adam Silver's will be like, we're gonna make it where parental controls for parents can make sure their kids don't see betting apps watching the game. Yeah, right. That's how I knew it was a meme, because the NBA is like, give me that money, wherever it comes from, show me that money. Just like the NFL, MLB, and NHL are. All the pro sports leagues are all about money, money, money. However, and I mean this, however, it may be, we're sitting there watching, and we've reached the point where we're getting QR codes from FanDuel and DraftKings, SportsBet, ESPN bets, having QR codes over under parlay lines and all that, taking over the score bug too. And it's like, I just want to watch the game. So all the people that were complaining about NBC's score bug being bland and boring, I'd rather have that over top of ESPN shoving the gambling down my throat and basically trying to say, if I'm not gambling, I'm not a sports fan. And it got players arrested even, which, let's see. Oh, there's a list of people in the NBA arrested in NBA gambling and rigged poker scandals. Ooh, we have a list, ladies and gentlemen. A list. I love how they got this out as fast as they did. The FBA, I don't know what an FBA is, but the FBI on Thursday, October 23rd, announced the arrest of more than 30 people connected with a pair of alleged gambling rings on charges of conspiring to commit fraud, money laundering, illegal gambling, and stupid pop-up ad, and extortion. This is from USA Today. Let's see. The list is among those arrested here is the Basketball Hall of Famer and current Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups, the guard for the Miami Heat and 10-year veteran Terry Rozier, former Cleveland Cavaliers player and coach Damian Jones. So yeah, this investigation is involving. It's involving allegedly involved insider sports betting conspiracy and alleged scheme to rig illegal poker games. Several people, including Jones, are named in both. Well, all right. So the list. All right. The people named in NBA gambling probe: Eric Ernst, the Spook, Marv's Fairley, Vezino Locks, Shane Heron, Sugar, Damian Jones, D. Jones, Dinero Laster, Nero Peso, Terry Rozier, Scary Terry or Chum, and then the rigged poker scheme incident has other people on there, but I don't see any names involving the NBA here. But it's still, Damian Jones was also involved in the poker thing. Good God. How far has society fallen? But yeah. We got that happening. They released that list. The NBA is, they got some interesting waters to navigate. And here to wrap things up, finally getting to the very end of this with a longer episode here, with local high school sports news. The La Crescent Hoka Lancers have announced their new coach to lead their baseball program. On paper, it's a new coach. In reality, however, it's just another, he's just a familiar face, another guy from their community who's been around baseball forever. La Crescent has hired their new head coach, Jim Schulze, or as the locals know him as Cricket. He's been around there, according to this report. Yes, I'm reading it off my phone from the official Facebook page for La Crescent Hoka Lancers. According to this, it says we had an extensive process with some great candidates and feel that the man that has had such an impact on our community's baseball for such a long time is a perfect person to lead our program. Cricket has been instrumental in helping at the high school and youth level for multiple decades. He has developed many players and even more relationships through his time as a coach. His track record speaks for itself, and we are excited to have him help develop our young men both on and off the field. Please give a warm welcome to Coach Cricket. So there you go. La Crescent's going to have a new yet familiar face for everyone over there, for him leading their baseball program. It'll be interesting to see how he does. But ultimately, at the high school level, it doesn't matter how you do on the field and what your win-loss record is as a coach. Well, yes, it's nice, but it's more important that the kids are having fun and you're teaching them important life lessons on and off the field. The other one that appeared on my radar that was really interesting here is Viroqua is possibly leaving the Cooley Conference. And in the article, from what I saw in the Vernon County Times, it said they're leaving the Cooley Conference possibly for the Southwestern Conference as a better fit for their sports programs. I don't get why they'd be doing that, because now your closest drives are going to be, the closest teams you're going to have, if I'm remembering correctly, for that conference is going to be Richland Center and Prairie du Chien, but then unless they changed it, the Southwestern Conference is also going to involve or the Southern Conference, whatever it's called, involving going to Platteville, Lancaster. You're going to be nowhere near the Cooley region anymore. And I don't see that conference realigning proposal lasting very long. But whatever. We also have regional championships in volleyball happening Saturday night, and then tonight is, I think, the opening round of the postseason or the second round of the postseason for high school football. So it's going to be another long, busy night for me, and I hope you enjoy this. And until then, remember, go Brewers, and God, we gotta love baseball.